Hey, video diary. So I've been better for a couple of days. I'm here in a little ISO booth. See? Apt. An apt setting. Not sure how to say that. So I have a couple of thoughts that I thought were important. And since this is a diary of my grief, they pertain to that. By nature, I have discovered, I knew this, I think, my whole life. Even when I was a child, I remember abusive scenes going down, and they were sustained in the sense that they were in my family um, via my father, and that I just had to find a place in myself to go or cope. But it wasn't just, I would say I experience it more as a voice telling me that I'm worth it and my life is worth it, that it's important, that it's valuable. And that ultimately I feel love. Ultimately, that's my biggest emotion. So even in bad times, um, once my father was dead, there was just the fallout. When he was alive, there was the actual fear and abuse. Uh, and it wasn't ever going to stop because it was coming from the way he was coping, dealing with the world. Yeah. So that's one of the things I really remember about my father's death, was how much of a relief it was, mixed in with um, the sorrow of losing, my patriarch, my father. And I did love him, but the way I loved him was almost like I wanted him to be better. I wanted him to be happy. It was like, it was almost parental. And he, I guess, didn't pick up on that because he didn't take care of himself. You can't really be healthy, in my experience, if you hold terrible beliefs and emotions. You just make yourself sick. And I'm not saying that you'll give yourself cancer, which is what he finally died from, but the stress and the dissonance, the cognitive dissonance, you know, and the way he treated his children, was all a reflection of himself. I didn't even take it personally when, though the sexual abuse is when, people use the you know the emotion, right? Don't you love me? Those kind of things that usually go along with the sexual abuse. And then there's force, and then there's, if there's resistance, there's violence. So it's a weird bunch of shit. And everybody knows it's wrong too. People that are doing it, people that are hiding people from doing it. Everybody knows it's a crime. I guess there's just some things that we just feel are crimes, right? So the weird thing about being a by nature happy person, and I'm also a person that has a very, fun and dirty sense of humor, and it's gone, it's shot. Like I can't even. I don't know. It's just I don't have it. I haven't truly been able to. I don't even know what to say about that. It's an effect. So over my nature, I feel like there's this overlay of story. Like this is my story during this lifetime, and now it lays over my life. And my mother has suggested to me that I don't need to let it, overtake or ruin or even, be something I look back on as like a ball and chain. And I understand exactly what she means. And I love her for her the depth of her, that wisdom that she's talking about. And then I've explained, of course, that where this, death of my own son, my flesh, my blood, my friend, it is cleaved me, And I was just discussing this with my brother. So happy to be able to say I have these people who was saying that I'm taking something from Forrest, which is since he died, I began jujitsu, and although I've trained in martial arts, in other ones I'd never done jujitsu, and I haven't told anybody there except the owner, and I had a conversation when I first started. Yeah, and not that I need to. Like I'm on the mat and I work out hard, and it's just a way of dealing with the grief, the loss, and it just beats me up. So I don't think. It's awesome too. I know Forrest was just about to get his purple belt, which is, I'm able to appreciate that now. Although I did then, I went and trained with him at his school. It's so sad. So, yeah, I realize I can't tell people about this because the inversion of Forrest being my greatest joy, and if any of you know me, and for people who don't, it really doesn't matter, but I'm telling you, yeah, he was my greatest joy. Excuse me. I'm not on this thing to cry. But he was the thing, the person, not the thing, the relationship, the person, the I was most like constellated by that, like just in the sense that he got most of my resource attention and my direct parental love in terms of interaction. My daughter is more self-sufficient. Not that Forrest wasn't, but he was away at school, and I was just checking in with him, usually daily. Towards the end of his life, I started giving him a little more space, like I would let a few days go at a time. And now I understand, or at least correlate, what happened. So how am I'm not going to tell people, that my greatest joy is now my greatest sorrow. I have no friends. I mean, I have friends, but I mean, and for the people who are my friends, I apologize for this thought, but it's just a kind of a fact that I just can't talk to anybody. And when I have to, I do it as professionally and as caring as I can. But then I'm like, I can't even call my accountant, who I've only met face to face, 2 or 3 times, because I don't want to tell him. My entire, career as an adult has been, through my accountant, has been caring for Forrest and Sophia. That's what getting my shit together amounted to. And I realized telling him that my son is dead is almost like the biggest failure. So I'm connecting my daughter with him to do her taxes, and she's going to tell him. It's like a firewall. I need firewalls. I need ways of protecting myself from contact. Or I'm going to finish with this last idea. And this is really weird, for me especially. It kind of started when I was experiencing this profound grief, like I'll have spells of it, like where I go back and I start reliving, moments. I look at Forrest's face, I talk to him like he's alive. And I might go into a grief thing where the reality of this, the reality, because in dreams weird things happen, in reality weird things don't happen, right? Magical things don't happen, supernatural things don't happen. Sometimes extraordinary things happen. But reality is when reality kicks in and strikes. And I realize that I will never have him close to me, and I won't get to see him do all of the lives he would have done. There's people around. I've had this one voice during those grief moments, which were like, which was lost, like the power of grief. And during these times, I would hear a second voice. And this happened when my father died. And the second voice isn't sad. It's instructive. And so during one of my grief spells, and I'm an atheist, and happy to be one, I asked myself, who are you? And these thoughts came. I'm your higher self. And then it corrected and said, I am your immortal self. And it was just wild, because it was in a moment where I was gone, and I heard this stay the course kind of thing. I'm like, who the fuck are you? So it's a beautiful, beautiful moment. Man, I miss my son so much. I was all right for a couple days.